starting to just share a brief anecdote that we started using this model because we had people in the program that I was directing that were doing everything they were asked to do. They're adherent to treatment, they're adherent to prescribed medication, they're seeing the therapist, they're not drinking, they're not drugging, they're taking care of their business, and they were still getting sick. And we were like, So when we would have people develop acuity, then we would get that attended to, either short-term or perhaps after a brief hospitalization, and brought them back. We wanted to talk with people about what the stressor might have been. And it was a fascinating process where people were able to share either something small, medium, or large that was like the first domino that got the other dominoes to start falling that unfortunately often ended up over here with hospitalization. So that was a great teaching moment for myself and for the program staff in terms of really trying to do a better job of identifying what's stressful for the person, what interferes with their success and satisfaction in community living, and can we better attend to that so that this doesn't have to result in all of this. So I think that's a useful model to just maybe stimulate our thinking and maybe give us more potential to engage with somebody. Okay, let's talk about the phases of psych rehab. I want to be mindful of our time and be sure we have time for some conversation. So with rehab, psych rehab, we always want to assess readiness. We're not just assessing disability. We can easily identify areas of living, learning, working, socializing where disability may be present. The key piece of it is, does the person want some help with that? So that's a question that needs to be asked and answered. Gauging a person's need or desire to set a goal for change and evaluating the person's willingness to give up old ways of doing things and to take a leadership role in one's recovery journey. So we do a pretty basic readiness assessment as part of the revised comprehensive assessment. There are many examples of questions in the revised comprehensive assessment that inquire about disability in role or task performance. And you will always see after that question, I think we do it in italics and also in a bold print, would you like some help with that? And so that's the question where someone is telling us they have difficulty in the social domain, the living domain. We say, would you like some help with that? And maybe we also say things like, we know how to help with that, little confidence and hope booster. So if the person responds negatively to those inquiries, in other words, no, I don't want some help with that, I'm doing just fine as a homeless person, who doesn't have any social contacts and poor activities of daily living, et cetera, then our target would be to develop the person's readiness. And the short course on that would be to help improve or increase the person's self-understanding, the learning of recovery principles, mobilizing environmental supports. All kinds of community-based opportunities are out there that can help get somebody ready for rehabilitation. And we also find that the use of cognitive behavioral therapy for psychosis techniques and motivational interviewing, motivational enhancement strategies can be helpful here. That then leads to goal choosing. So what's the dream job, the dream home, the dream friend, the dream place to go to school? And beginning to gather information about those goal options. And then we get to work. Goal achievement is facilitated by identifying the critical skills and the needed supports to successfully achieve the chosen goal. So we teach the needed skills and we arrange supports. And then the goal keeping, evaluating, supporting the person in his or her chosen goal. So we'll get in a little deeper on some of these. So with readiness assessment, let me throw out one example of questions from the revised comprehensive assessment. And you'll see that it just creates a nice opening to say what gets in the way of performing this role, skill, or task. Would you like help to work on these challenges? Would you like some help with that? So what types of problems or challenges have you had lately? There are probably many people on this call that have asked that question of a consumer. And just think a minute about some of the answers that you've been provided. My guess would be at least some have fallen into the living, learning, working, socializing domains. How have things been going for you? What things have been bothering you lately? What types of challenges or problems have you been having? What types of challenges have you had with work or school? What's been challenging about getting along with others? That covers all of the bases of living, learning, working, socializing right there. So as those problems, functional problems, get identified, we want to be asking what gets in the way? Would you like some help with that? And that helps us assess both the functional deficits and the stages of treatment in terms of rehab readiness. Let's move along here. Readiness development, as I shared, we do a number of things there. Awareness of self, awareness of mental illness, potential for recovery, nature of psych rehab services. We can share that both formally and informally. We can mobilize environmental supports by enlisting the help of others. So this would give us additional reasons to be in touch with natural supports or to develop natural supports that they could then marshal. We could marshal them in encouraging participation in rehab. Community-based opportunities are everywhere. It can be as simple as pointing out someone's performance of roles and tasks when you're out and about in the community. Like you take someone to the local grocery store. Could you ever see yourself working in a place like this? That's an opportunity to develop someone's readiness for rehabilitation. Experiencing accomplishments develops the person's recognition of times where challenges were met. So looking back over your shoulder, can you name some accomplishments that you've had in your life? Well, what did it take to get there? We already talked a little bit about deploying motivational interviewing or CBT. In the interest of time, I won't spend a lot of time on that, but those are great adjunctive ways of developing someone's readiness for rehabilitation. Goal choosing. So once again, job, home, friend, place to go to school, specific skills that aren't working for them. They're now ready to be an active participant. So the way to think about how you're going to shift from providing treatment to provision of psych rehab is often looked at as a choose, get, keep process. From the perspective of the person we're serving, when we're providing psych rehab, we're helping the person choose the goal, get or achieve the goal, and or keep the goal, depending on their needs and wants. And it really starts with, what do you want to work on? The goal achievement, and this is where we really identify the critical skills and the needed supports. And here's how we do that. There's a mix of both teaching skills and providing supports. Skill development is when we're providing education and teaching as treatment. First, we describe the skill, we then demonstrate the skill, and we then make arrangements for the person to perform the skill, and then there's an exchange of feedback and evaluation between the parties. So it's like, well, how do you think you did on that? And then once the person shares how they think they did on it, I can share how I think they did on it. And then the resource development is any and all of the supports for sustained success and satisfaction. It's one thing to teach someone how to do laundry. It's another to make sure that they have access to a laundromat, access to change for the machines, access to laundry detergent in order to be successful in washing their clothes. Goal keeping, evaluating, supporting the person in his or her chosen goal. So we continue to monitor, checking in with the person about the use of new skills and or the performance of the role. We provide ongoing support, ongoing problem solving, anything interfering with success and satisfaction, we're going to get after that. However, we got to be honest and know that success and satisfaction do not happen overnight. This is another place where we see micro steps of change, and we need to be good with that. We need to help the consumer to be good with that, and we move on to additional steps and perhaps bigger steps. Functional assessment is also embedded in the service of psych rehab. The short version of that is we want to know what the person can or cannot do in relation to the goal. So is this going to be a new skill or better use of an existing skill? Obviously, if it's a new skill, we're going to be doing a little more work with the person. If it's better use of an existing skill, it may be just more of a brush up, a refresher course. Thinking about it in terms of the actual performance versus the desired performance is another good way to think about it and create some distinction between what's going on now and where you might say you want to be. It gives you some tangible, concrete things that you can work on. And obviously, we work, to match the required level. Where the consumer's performance doesn't match the required level, we're targeting that to move forward. Okay, resource assessment, as I shared earlier, it could include things like money, transportation, housing, special training, needed accommodations, supportive people. Again, the laundry example would be, I think, a perfect example of that. Direct skills teaching, as I shared, tell, show, do, and then a critique. And then the skills programming piece is where you put into place opportunities to continue to practice and utilize the skills. And then we circle back to people to find out how that is going. Heading to the finish line. Always consider, is it a new skill or an existing skill? That will really determine how much detail you have to get into in your skills teaching. Always think about additional detail. If multiple people are going to be involved in the skills teaching, be as consistent as you can in skills teaching. If detail in a plan is lacking, remember and use tell, show, do. It can get you out of a lot of sticky situations. And when a skill is being performed whenever and wherever needed and in a satisfactory way, the rehab goal has been achieved. Finally, I want to make sure you're aware of the impact of psych rehab services on nearly 20% of the fidelity items in the tool for measurement of assertive community treatment. I think we have about 9 of them there of the 47 fidelity items. This can really help you move consumers towards graduation and integration into the community. It also reduces acuity and corresponding crises. So that's an important consideration in terms of how the team wants to be spending its time. So there we go. I think we hit our time frame just about where we should. Let me hear from you about any questions or concerns you might have about what we were just running through.
Anybody have any questions for Jonathan?
Please don't be shy.
And we also are aware that there's no chat function. There's something going on with our Zoom, as you can all probably figure out since we all got booted. So there is no way to do chat for questions if you have
Wow.
one.
I see that now.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah, we're on some different version of Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and relatedly, just as a heads up, in 20 minutes, there's a good chance we're all going to get booted off again. So just get ready to click the link again. We're figuring it out behind the scenes. But
Okay. Chris, I'm just thinking out loud, would it be worthwhile once my piece of this is done, if we all logged off and logged back on, perhaps it would prevent the interruption?
Yeah, I mean, what we're running into is there's a 40-minute, somehow it reverted back to like the free Zoom. I'm not sure why, something with the login behind the scenes that we're fixing. So it has like 40-minute chunks that is our maximum.
Okay.
Fun.
Well, again, people should feel free to reach out to me. All of my contact info is on this last slide. Again, there are no silly or dumb questions, only unasked ones. We recognize that this is an area of a team's provision of services that often competes for attention, competes for time with others. I sort of specialize in helping to identify ways you can piggyback this service to other services. So please open the door and talk to me if there's anything I can do to boost your provision of psych rehab. Be pleased to help.